I've been returning to this game over and over and over again after I have done my first impressions video to figure out if I like it or hate it. I still can't figure it out, so I guess I'm going to be doing a review with just negatives and positives and without a rating. Let's imagine that the rating is 5 out of 10. If you're seeing this review on Steam, then thumbs up, thumbs down doesn't mean much, as for me, Bloodlust is in the middle. So first of all, what is Bloodlust 2 Nemesis? It's an indie RPG dungeon crawler. The game continues Bloodlust series. Playing the first game is highly recommended in order to understand the story. Positives. Some might call me crazy or blind, but I think that the game does atmosphere very well. Graphics and sound effects give you this dark, eerie feeling, so while it might not look ultra beautiful, it is most certainly pleasing enough. The developer is ultra receptive to feedback. I sent them a comment on my first impressions video and they have promised some changes. I like the voice acting. It sounds smooth, well made, fitting. The game has 25 separate skills, 30 talents and 6 stats to increase, allowing you to build your character multiple different ways if you decide to play through the game more than once. Now onto a very long list of negatives, but don't take this too negatively, I'm just being very nitpicky. The inventory system, every single thing that you kill drops a variety of loot. All this loot is jumbled up in one place, and all the loot that you'll receive is going to be utterly random. Meaning there is loads of inventory management. If I was to give suggestions on how to improve it, I would say separate the inventory into multiple different categories. For example, regular inventory tab. Everything without a category goes here, like identifying scrolls, keys and such. Gem tab, alchemy material tab, gear tab, potion tab. I do not expect this to be implemented because this is a big rework, but it would most certainly help. Another suggestion would be to let me select a setting that I don't want the enemies to even drop gear that's below a certain quality. This would mean that I would actively lose on drops, as I would get a lot less drops, but at the same time I would have a lot less things to manage in my inventory, but also a lot less things to sell to a merchant. The enemies can spawn camp you. This is most apparent with the boss fight that I did, that I'm showing on screen right now. The developer said that they will make some changes to prevent that in that specific boss fight though. I feel like the enemy difficulty means nothing. In the first dungeon that I was in, I was struggling highly against enemies my level. In the next dungeon, I was one-hitting enemies 10 levels higher than me. I feel like the enemy level should 100% be a factor in how much damage they take and do. Combat system desperately needs a way to crowd control enemies efficiently, like a way to stagger them, for example. Now it just ends up being a test of who has the higher stats and can mash the hardest, be it a magical ability that you're mashing or weapon swing. I quite specifically dislike seeing enemies spawn in front of me. There are often enemies that can summon other enemies, or some of them will try to ambush you. This specifically prevents you from using your eyes to be careful and figuring out how dangerous is the area in front of you. It feels like you enter a corridor and suddenly you're besieged by a sea of utterly random things. Small complaint, but if you are not yet fulfilled a quest objective, the symbol next to it is X. To me, a red X means failure. I think something else might be a better symbol to use, maybe a question mark? Now the negatives list seems long, but it's me dissecting the game and thinking what could improve it. Honestly, if anyone else played this game, their largest issue would likely be the combat, and the symbol next to the quest wouldn't even factor in. Thing is, with all of its flaws, something stops me from hating the game outright. I want to see the developer make more. I want to see this developer improve their creations. So I hope that this review was helpful to both a potential buyer and the developer themselves.